I'm just going to hand over to Eliza for the next session of even more inspiring women. We've got an incredible selection of 4 fantastic women today. Thank you.
Thanks, Rachel. Yeah, so for the second part of today's event, we're going to have a series of shorter presentations to continue showcasing the work of amazing women in bad science. So the first of these presentations is going to be by Inieke Udokang, and she's from the Small Mammal Conservation Organization, and she's going to be talking to us about saving the endangered short-tailed roundleaf bat, and how this can be done by empowered local communities that protect forests from wildfires.
Oh, okay. Thank you, everyone, for joining in. And I'm grateful to Bats Without Borders for the opportunity to speak about the amazing work we've been doing in Nigeria in stopping, preventing wildfire spread. Yeah. So I'd like to give you a background of where we work in Nigeria. I'd like to tell you about the Afi Mountain Wildlife Sanctuary. It is, in fact, one of the last primary remaining forests in Nigeria. It's located in the southeastern region, part of Nigeria. Habitat for diverse threatened species, plants and animals. But then it's pathetic that this rich forest is disappearing in our eyes because of yearly wildfire occurrences. So the short-tailed roundleaf bat is a tiny, cute bat we are protecting in Nigeria. It's endangered. It's really tiny, about the size of a tennis ball. It was rediscovered by our team in 2016 after it was last sighted like about 45 years ago in Nigeria. And it's a really sad bat. That's why they roost in like groups of 2 to 15 individuals in caves. But they are suffering, they are undergoing threats due to habitat loss because of wildfire occurrences. Under climate change, there has been increasing frequency of wildfire occurrences. And with increase in frequency of wildfire occurrences, we have bat reduction. This is due to unavailability of food, which leads to species decline and population decrease. But on this plot, this is a total annual rainfall from 1999 to 2018. The red line shows the wildfire occurrences during this period at the Afi Mountain Wildlife Sanctuary, while the blue dot shows the annual rainfall we had during this period. Between 2010 to 2015, you'd notice where you have the first black line, that's where there was a kind of reduction in wildfire occurrences. And this was due to the intervention program at that time. But shortly after the intervention program, there was this massive fire at the Afi Mountain. In fact, it was this fire who drove our team barely 10 days, just barely 10 days after rediscovering our tiny little bat. And this is what led to our prevention project. We started with fire laws, and then we moved to fire prevention, and then the intervention project. To make you have a feel of what we are talking about, I would like you to listen to this video. I'm going to play this video. This is a farmer from one of the communities, Buancho, that stays at the base, that is located at the base of the Afi Mountain Wildlife Sanctuary. He has been suffering losses due to wildfire occurrences. Okay.
I'm Dominic Abang by name. I'm coming from Buancho, a community that is nearby Afi Mountain. So I'm a farmer, majorly cocoa farmer, and my farm is a farm that produces about 20 bags of cocoa for me per year, and that is my major source of income. But all of a sudden, fire from my neighbor farm extend to my own and burn down everything. In fact, means of surviving now is a case, so I used to find it difficult, but I'm happy that SmartCon have come around to help us fight fire around our farms and around the forest that is still around us. So I'm happy about that. Thank you.
Yeah, it's heartbreaking, I know. And this is what I get every time I visit these communities, and you get to hear stories like this from other farmers. But we are not just preventing wildfires to protect our bat habitats, we are also preventing fires to safeguard the livelihood of people like Dominic. So when you encounter people like Dominic, what do? All we had to do was a community engagement through stakeholders meetings, town hall meetings, and we also wanted our data to actually speak for itself. So we conducted sociological surveys through focus group discussions and questionnaire surveys to actually understand the drivers of wildfire on the sanctuary. From the responses we got from our surveys, the major activities that caused wildfires was irresponsible farm burning, even when there were other causes like cooking in farms and cigarette storms. I mean, people go to sleep over in farms. These are people who have large land mass of farms and take like 5 to 6 days to stay in the farm to work. So they sleep over and they will need to eat. They set fire, they cook their food, and sometimes forget to put off fire. Hunters go up the sanctuary every time. Some of them get to smoke and drop the storms. But community members identified irresponsible farm burning as a major cause of these problems, and that is what I want to focus on. Getting into these problems, we had several discussions with the leaders during one of our meetings and other members, asking to understand the problems they face. One of which was static fire bans that was very hard to follow. Most of these fire bans came from government, but it was very difficult for community members to follow. And all they needed was the knowledge of the right time to burn. In fact, in one of our meetings, a lady spoke up and said, "Oh, I wish I really knew when to set my farm on fire." And this is one of the solutions we picked up for our intervention project. Also, the farm fire abandonment was a major problem, which just needed local laws that are enforced to stop farm fire abandonment. And then the inadequate capacity to put out fire when wildfire happens. And all that was needed is to equip and train people who can go in and put out fires when there are wildfires. These are what led to our intervention. We summarized all these problems and we found a solution that led to our intervention. And our intervention was mostly to reduce forest fires through our early risk prevention and protect local livelihood by stopping the spread of fire from farmlands to forests. To achieve this objective, we started up with stages of early wildfire prediction and prevention. And these were just 3 steps: predicting, communicating, and response. To predict, we model historical data with wildfire events. This historical data is a 20-year-old data from the Afi Mountain Wildlife Sanctuary. We got that from an NGO that has been working in the sanctuary for over 20 years. We also had data, fire count data from Fire Information for Resource Management, and the current weather data we are collecting from the weather stations to be installed in these communities. Fire risk communication was mostly two approaches. We used two approaches, which is deployment of signposts. We deployed color-coded signposts in communities, placed them in strategic locations to farmlands where farmers could refer to on their way to the farm. These signposts basically inform farmers on the right time to burn their farm. So where you have the green, it says it's a good time to burn. Where you have the yellow, that's a moderate time. You can burn, but you have to go with, it has to be supervised. But when on the red days, you don't burn because this could cause wildfire spread. And the other approach we had was providing incentive to the town crier so that on a fire risk day, he announces to farmers not to burn their farmland. So if you're in any of these communities, say by 6 a.m. on a high risk day, this is what you'd likely hear. Yeah, so he wakes you up in the morning and tells you, while you're preparing to head to the farm, make sure you don't set your farmland on fire. It's a high risk day. For response, because we predict, we communicate, but sometimes fire still happens. So what do? All we have to do is, we needed to do was to recruit fire rangers who would patrol farmlands during high risk days to make sure that fire does not spread from farmlands to forests. But in all of these, with the prediction and the communication and the response, fire still happens. So this is where the community comes in. They set up fire laws, enforce the fire laws, and penalize defaulters. All we needed to do here is to help them type out the laws. And this is what they've been doing all since the fire season. What has been our impact so far? In the last fire season, over 156 farmlands were patrolled on high-risk days. We rescued over 33 farmlands. We had no wildfires in the last farm season. But this is a continuous process. This is what we will keep doing. So currently, we have our forest guardians patrol farmlands, and over 63 farmlands have been patrolled. We have rescued farmlands from wildfire and stopped 2 outbreaks to the forest. And there is an ongoing daily patrol currently at the Afi Mountain Wildlife Sanctuary. This project is successful because we rely mostly on community needs and solutions. And most of the actions are deployed by our community members. That's through the Forest Guardian. And we have lots of community actions. In fact, we still have community members walk up to us to say, we want to be part of the Forest Guardians. We want to help to put off fires. We have other communities asked to be part of the project. So this has really been a successful one, and we are hoping that in this year's fire season would yield a very positive result. And yes, we have messages from community members appreciating and telling us of how much this has been beneficial to them. Some even go about talking to others on the need to refer to the signpost whenever it's on high risk days. Thank you very much for your time. I'm grateful to all our funders for really making this possible, and thank you for listening.
Thanks very much for sharing that with us, Inieke. That's really impressive work and great to see how you're getting the communities involved for their own benefit as well. If anyone's got any questions, please feel free to put them in the chat. In the meantime, I did have a question and just wondered if you could tell us a bit more about the modeling work that you mentioned to predict wildfire events. So to predict areas of high risk or days where fires were more likely to happen. So can you tell us a bit more about how you did that?
Thank you so much. That's a good question. So the modeling work with the historical data and the fire count is mostly done in our office, but we collect weather data daily from our weather station. We installed weather station in this community. So weather data are sent to us, and that's used in predicting the days. So all we have to do, all what the field officers have to do is to wait on us for the information on the weather, and then they move the arrows on the sign.
So that's really up to date then, sort of
Yes.
live data that you sent. That's great. Thank you for that. We also have a question from Rachel, wondering how you recruit your forest guardians.
Oh, we get that a lot. So in each of these communities, we reached out to them and we asked for people who were interested in collaborating with us to put out fires in the mountains. And we had tons of people show up. We kind of interviewed them, and yes, that's how they got to work with us.
Thank you. We have one more question from the community involvement. Is there progress in saving the endangered short-tailed bats? Have you assessed progress towards this?
That's a good question. Yes, so when the bat's habitat is protected, there is likely going to be a population increase. So we are starting up a monitoring project shortly to monitor our caves and also to look out for the bats. So we are really hoping that with no fire last year, and hopefully we won't have any fire events this year, that our bat habitats would be protected, and that would mean that we would have our bats, like the population increase. So I guess we'll see.
Yeah, well, hopefully that is the case. We've run out of time for more questions for Inieke, but thank you again for sharing your presentation with us.